I pledge my life and honor to the Night's Watch. For this night, and all the nights to come.
Bella Morgolis, everybody. Hypeswatch back here again for another A Song of Ice and Fire epic reread. And apparently we've actually got the 30 of these. Wow. 30 months worth of rereads. Actually surprised by that. But today, see, I got the crew with me, as always. We have Mr. Jerry the Targaryen Steamboat, who hopefully will not be hating today. We have Sir Lt Giles. We have Don Kraken Wit. And this month's reread winner, James Michelle. Big game, James Michelle J. So, yeah, you guys want to introduce yourselves or something? Maybe since this is your chapter, you know.
Well, I was gonna say I don't really feel like that much of a winner because we just decided to do this one after mine kept losing on the polls. But yeah, this is actually a great chapter. I think it's an underrated chapter, and we'll get into that. But yes, JBTV. I don't make any videos, but yeah, JBTV, and I'm happy, of course, to be doing this chapter. And how about Jerry? Go ahead.
Well, I'm just glad to be here. Glad to talk about. I agree, James. This is a great chapter. I think we're going to have some interesting opinions about what has been said in this chapter from both sides. A lot of examining actions in hindsight. So let's get this going.
Lt Giles, you want to say hello to the people?
What's up, everybody? Yeah, it is the last chapter. We get to see the Prince of Winterfell, the cocky Theon. It's basically where Theon dies if you look at it. And anytime we got the Kraken here, it's always good to have our long-lost brother with us.
And Kraken, go ahead.
Hey, what's going on, crackheads? And I'm so happy to be here with the boys with the Hypeswatch. It's good to actually hang out with you guys and talk about a fucking awesome chapter. So let's get the show on the road.
All right, well, let's get straight into the analysis. So just going to be reading off the synopsis off Westeros.org, so you can go ahead and follow along if you want to. Essentially, the chapter starts out with Theon Greyjoy. He's approached by Maester Luwin, who advises him to yield. Victarion and Balon Greyjoy have not replied to Theon's messages, and although new birds will not reach them on time, Theon orders Luwin to send them anyway. He accuses Luwin of wanting him dead. The Maester calmly explains that although he bears Theon no great love, his order serves, and the fact that Theon holds Winterfell means that Luwin is bound to serve him. Again, he counsels Theon to yield Winterfell as he has no hope of holding it. Theon counters that by holding on to Winterfell, Rodrik Cassel cannot turn south to take Victarion in the rear. He is willing to withstand a siege for a year, but Luwin tells him that within days the Northmen will be climbing the walls in more places than Theon can stop them. So, first things first, let's talk about this. One, do you guys believe that Luwin's advice is sound advice? And do you truly believe Luwin when he says that he serves the realm and not maybe the Starks, the house that was fond of him and he was good with? So we'll start with Jerry on this one.
I mean, Luwin's not wrong in the advice he gives. Yes, it is. It got a little bit of Stark bias, but I mean, I think it's easy for him to give that advice when, like, be Stark bias when the advice to give him will favor the Starks. So, yeah, Luwin's not wrong here. It's sound advice.
It's sound advice, but he's a little bitter, isn't he?
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, he is definitely Stark bias. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess it does show that Luwin, I think for the most part, does show that even though he has Stark bias, that he still does serve the realm as a maester would. Don Willi, what do you think?
I mean, listen, at the end of the day, he's trying to ensure his own survival and also the survival of Winterfell. I mean, look, he's expecting that at some point, some forces of the Starks or some of the Northmen are gonna take this back, and he just doesn't want things to be bloody. Look, you don't become a maester because you're thinking about how best to plan for war. You're thinking about how to preserve things. So I think that's just what he's doing. He's just trying to preserve, uh, you know, um, he's trying to preserve what's left. That's all.
I mean, he doesn't think outside the box at all to really that would help Theon. Like he doesn't think like he doesn't come up with any good alternatives or anything that might benefit Theon over the Starks. But at the
Why would
same
he?
time, I don't even know if Luwin's capable of doing something like that. So
LT, what do you think about this whole beginning part of this chapter? LT, you there?
Sorry, the mute button was working. I agree with everything you guys said. I believe Luwin was being genuine. He wants it to end without bloodshed. Freaking Asha told him, man. She told him to fucking come with him, and he don't want to listen. It's just he's basically telling him it's over. Yield, but he doesn't want to. He wants to die this glorious death, but we all see what's gonna happen.
it's over, Theon. I have the high ground.
He said you were the chosen one.
Being Mr. Greyjoy, Kraken, what'd you think of Luwin's exchange with Theon at the beginning of this chapter?
Man, I didn't think much about it. Like Theon was never somebody that I thought much about. I support his uncles more than him. I mean, Theon is basically a fucking joke. And I'm going back to Luwin. Like, why would Luwin even fucking help this dude? Like, why? It's like you see that kind of turmoil in Luwin. Yes, he wants to serve the realm, and he serves his house, and that's his house, and why the fuck would he even want to help Theon?
Well, ultimately, I think in this case, Luwin was trying to find the way that would hurt the least amount of Winterfell citizens. Is ultimately what I think what he was trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, but he doesn't care for the new person in charge of Winterfell.
I think we might disagree on that in a little bit, but in his next round of. But
That's okay.
His next round of advice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll move on from there. So after this, we have Theon has his Ironborn assemble in the yard. He informs his men he will not run from the Northmen and gives them the option of leaving him or dying beside him. None of his men reply until Wex Pike steps over to Theon's side. Lauren, Red Rolf, Crom, Werlag, Timor, and his three brothers Ulf the Ill, Harag Sharp, 4 Harlaws, and 2 Botleys, and Carnard the Whale follow. A lot of those important characters. The others leave. Mainly the ones that left were ones that were loyal to Asha. And then Black Lauren counsels him to put the castle folk to the sword, as they will turn on them as soon as the fighting begins. Guard for battle, Theon climbs the watchtower and watches the Northmen who have gathered. Despite his disapproval about the plan, Lauren goes to fetch Beth Cassel. So we'll start with Don Willi on this one. What do you think about the whole scene where it seems like they're all like going to be like, Theon, we're out, fuck you, and then all of a sudden he does get some support. How'd you feel about that scene?
It's funny that he's sitting there thinking to himself, okay, if I'm gonna go out, damn it, I'm gonna be as ironborn as I possibly can be. The rest of these people are like, dude, we weren't even really supposed to be here to begin with. and now you're basically trying to get us to fight a losing battle. So, look, he has to have some sort of support only because what is the Harlaws are cousins to him, and that would be pretty fucked up if the Harlaws left him. Um, and obviously, the Botleys with Christopher um, being whatchamacallit, in love with Asha. You might have some people there trying to gain favor. So I mean, it was just interesting to see that like I'm wondering kind of what his reaction was because we don't really get his reaction. It's just kind of like he stands there for a minute. You know, at first no one moves, and then a couple people come to him. And it's like, all right, all right, all right. So he probably would have been looking at first nervous, sweat dripping down his temple, and then he breathes a sigh of relief after a couple of minutes when people actually start rallying to his side. So I mean that's my take on it.
LT.
It's a little windy. Just
Okay, well, we'll go to Kraken.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I really didn't have too much of an opinion on this one. Like,
Okay,
I
how
got
about I ask? Well, I'll ask you this question real quick, Kraken. Do you feel that Theon taking a last stand, essentially, almost taking like a heroic last stand, like saying, like, you don't have to come with me, but I'm going down with the ship. Do you find that, since obviously you just said you weren't the hugest Theon fan, and I really wasn't until the Reek stuff, but did you view that as heroic at all? Him saying,
yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, like from an Ironborn standpoint, yes, absolutely. But we do have to look at who the fuck we're talking about here, and just like you said, like I don't think anybody was a fucking Theon fan until the whole Reek thing happened, So, but I mean, that's hindsight is 20/20 vision, But just Theon at this moment, like I was proud of him from an Ironborn standpoint, but him as an actual character and what the fuck he did, no, it just wasn't for me.
all right, Jerry, on both fronts, both those
So I
questions.
mean, first things first. This really goes to show exactly what Theon's kind of a lost child here. He's really got nowhere of nothing. Like he's Greyjoy, but he's not really Greyjoy because of what happened to him and the way he's looked at. Like I'm surprised anyone crossed it because he's just not considered Greyjoy by his own people because of how he was taken away. I mean, look, Kraken. He's one of the biggest Greyjoy fans out there, yet he doesn't really have any affinity to Theon. Should tell you all you need to know about how Greyjoy he is really thought of.
I mean, like he's a Stark trying to be an Ironborn.
He's not even a Stark
Greyjoy.
either.
I mean, that's part of the thing with Theon.
It reminds me of
split.
that silly that line in the movie Selena where Edward James Olmos is like talking about about being like Mexican American. You got to be more Mexican than the Mexicans, more American than the American, but you really come up short on both, and that's where Theon really is. He's not Stark enough, and he's not Greyjoy enough. He's really nothing.
How come nobody ever? Sorry. How come nobody ever blames Balon? It's Balon's fault that he's short. If Balon would have sent him the troops, they could have held Winterfell. I never hear, and every time I hear people talk about this, I never hear anybody blame Balon or Victarion, and it's basically
Balon knew it was a full, like, there's no point. All you would have done is send troops to eventually die. What was that, Kraken?
Yeah, you could kind of think about it like don't blame Balon because like he actually he could want his son to prove himself, like he wants him to be a Greyjoy and an Ironborn, so you could look at look at it that way. You know, like he wants to
Oh.
see him do something worthy.
Also, it was Balon didn't give Theon the order to take Winterfell. That was Theon's own machinations.
Yeah, dude,
So,
he fucking just flew off the cuff with that shit.
Yeah, so
No, he was
Balon.
he was supposed to go after Fishing Village. I know that. But my thing is, once you take the heart of the North, logic is to hold it. And if you know what, if Balon would have sent him at least a few hundred men, you could hold Winterfell. See, Theon said, "I have enough food to last."
All you're doing is delaying the inevitable, and you're costing lives to do so. It would have been frivolous in my opinion, and I think Balon saw that, and that's why he didn't do it.
Theon just needed 15 good men.
But hold on, though, real quick. Balon didn't care about alliances to begin with. Remember, Robb Stark sent Theon there with, hey, look, you know, let's get this alliance going. I'll be king of the North. You get to be king of the Iron Islands. We take down the Iron Throne. And Balon was like, man, get the fuck out of here with that shit.
He wasn't down with alliances with the Starks. He did try to make an alliance with the Lannisters, but the Lannisters were like, well, you're doing it already. Why do I need the alliance to get you to do something you're already doing?
Right, but the thing about it is, I mean, listen, he should have known that the Lannisters were never going to make an alliance with him, even against the Starks. I mean, look, man, this guy, Balon, is not a tactician, and he's not even really a king. So, yeah, you know, fuck Balon.
But remember,
Balon's more bitter than anything. Like, he's more a brewer. Like, he's sitting over there just, like, pissed off about everything than anything else. Like, I don't think anybody said that Balon was a major tactician or leader, really.
I mean, he's not totally stupid, but he's like he gets shit on more than he really.
He's just an angry old man.
Yeah, he lets his emotions sometimes take over, like playing the odds. So that's why he takes on things that he shouldn't have. But even he knows that this is, you know.
Well, let's bring it back into the matter at hand here.
Oh, I also wanted to make a second point about this.
And I have something else to say too.
Well, okay. First, let me say that it was. It's another one of George's kind of like tearing down of what people's of characters' expectations of stories and things. Like, you know, Theon grew up hearing all these great stories about how the Ironborn were, you know, ravagers and they would die to the last man, almost like 300 like level stories. And yet here he is expecting to do the same thing, and then he finds out that the truth is it's not what you think. It's not what you hear in the stories. Just like when Sansa hears all the stories about all the great princes and beautiful people, she finds out that the reality is totally different. When Arya thinks of all the great heroes like Nymeria and running through the woods and all these going on these adventures, when she goes on her adventure, it's not exactly what they expect. It's, again, showing it right here. It's different than the songs.
What'd you
He
have,
even
LT?
thinks about having a song like after him, but
Yeah, LT.
It's just, okay, you guys are saying it's a bad cause, but when Balon started this rebellion, he deemed himself king of the North and the Riverlands. So, I mean, why? I know, but I'm just saying, if he would have put the men, and they could have conquered the North. They really could have. Because that's how you conquer the North, starting with Winterfell. But, like you said, they didn't. But he could have conquered the North here if he wanted to.
well, what's the point of conquering if you can't hold it? I think is the point.
My point is, if Theon had the men, they would have held it, and eventually Victarion would have came, and they would have had more men, and they could have conquered the North. They could have.
Look at him. LT's out for my own heart. So. Look at him. Look at him. He's just sucking up to me.
Well, Don, would you have anything to say about whether you thought that Theon taking this stand was heroic at all?
It wasn't heroic. It was stupid. I mean, look, his pops told him what he wanted him to do, Look, I understand the whole thing about taking initiative. You wanna prove yourself. But what is dying gonna get you? You know, you're not gonna be around to hear the damn song. So it was stupid, not heroic at all. And Theon later, way later, comes to realize that it was not a good idea. If only he had realized it wasn't a good idea a lot sooner, though.
Death would have been a whole lot better what he ends up getting. I would have rather died 10 times over than going through what he goes through. So I don't know what you're talking about. Dying would have been great right there.
I'm just saying in terms of taking Winterfell wasn't a smart plan to begin with. He didn't. I mean, there wasn't a plan for holding it. And then once Asha told him, "Hey, look, all right, let's. It was fun. Abandon it. Come with me, and let's do what we were supposed to be doing to begin with." He should have known right then and there. He's like, he sent ravens off to his pops. He got no response, and his sister, was like, "All right, cool. You've had your fun. All right, now let's get back to the regular mission." And he was like, "No, but it's mine. I have it. Look, I'm Ironborn." And they were just like, "Oh yeah, okay, yeah."
I mean,
okay,
Winterfell
sure,
is one of the worst places for the Ironborn to really take a spot, because what are the Ironborn good at? They're good at the sea battles, and
Yeah, I mean,
how many
but
rivers
like
in Winterfell?
going back to James's question, I mean, like it's pretty much the difference of like going out on your shield is one thing, but did you actually fucking mean it is a totally different thing, and Jerry, just like you said, that's kind of the struggle that we have with reading George's books, is like the deconstruction of these characters. You know, it's all up in the fucking air, and your opinion is a lot different than LT's opinion, or James's opinion, so that's what we're here for.
I think that's what Martin's one of the best at, is he gives a lot of different makes a lot of different opinions valid.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I understand what Willi was saying. It definitely was a dumb decision, but my point was to making. Wouldn't you guys rather die than go what Theon goes to in the future? Wouldn't you guys?
Well, I don't think he saw that coming. So.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think anybody saw that coming.
I definitely didn't see that coming.
Hindsight is always 20/20. I mean, you could say now, obviously, that'd have been better if he died for him, but at the time, he doesn't know what that was going to happen. So it's hard to say at that moment. But LT, what'd you think about this particular scene, and if you thought it was heroic at all?
Definitely a heroic. I mean, anybody's willing to die. That's what I'm saying. He was willing to die. He's willing to go out and fight his way out. Definitely heroic. He could have been a craven and tried to run.
LT, always the optimist.
Yeah. Ultimately, like I empathize with Theon because he's like stuck between a rock and a hard place. His own people hate him. Yeah. He had, well, even though he kind of had a good thing with the Starks, he still, he longed for his home culture, which I don't.
We'll get to this thing with the Starks pretty soon.
Yeah, so we'll get into that.
Yeah, acceptance is a big thing, and I, even as all of us men here, like we, in some way or shape, form, or fashion, we all want acceptance. Everybody wants acceptance. Yeah. And he's definitely, James, like you said, stuck in between a rock and a hard place.
I mean, ultimately, I think the mistake that Theon makes is when he does go back and realizes how much of a fuckbag Balon is, towards him anyway, that maybe he should have not gone through with what he did, but, it happened.
I mean, that's hard to do. Like,
yeah, no, I mean, I'm not even saying he's wrong for doing what he did. I'm just saying that maybe he could have.
It happened.
If he would have went back to Robb, he possibly would have died at the Red Wedding.
Oh, he definitely would have died at the Red Wedding.
Yeah.
I think everybody died at the Red Wedding.
No, but then again, no. They.
Well, okay, he might have not definitely died, but
Yeah, because they arrested the Great John, so they could have known he was an heir and arrested him too.
I mean, ultimately, they might have sent him up with Rodrik to try and parlay with the Ironborn if they actually, because of his ties, obviously, or something. It's not a foregone conclusion that he would have been at the Red Wedding, but ultimately, hindsight is 20/20, like I said, and yeah, you could say that he would have died, but
Theon would have been the ultimate turncoat if he would have went back to join Robb after saying "F you" to. Like, I mean, you don't. In this world, you do not go against your family like that, especially maybe in certain cases where maybe someone above, when Stan is having trouble deciding, do I choose Robert or do I choose the Targaryens who I'm sworn to? But Robb wasn't the charge of the Iron Islands or anything like that. So I mean, to go against your family would have been a huge sin for him. Yeah, I mean, people tend to think, oh, he's such a big betrayer, but they only think that because we see most of the point of view from the Starks. If you look at it objectively as how this world is set up to be, he is doing the right thing, doing the expected thing by following his family's wishes.
But that's where the whole conversation starts. His feelings are getting in the way. In between his duty and the way that he feels. If I was Theon, I would feel a certain kind of way about the Starks, in a good way. But I would be conflicted about my Greyjoy heritage.
Mm-hmm. As it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, look, even the fucking Tullys. What is their first thing? Family. Family duty honor. Family's number one.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just don't see why Balon, I know this is getting a little off subject, but I just don't see why Balon just didn't join Robb and then turncloak him when they conquered the Lannisters. Just think about it. Then, he'd take out one giant and then he could take out the other giant head on. That would have been smart on Balon's position if he just betrayed Robb. Just joined him and then betrayed him. That would have been smart.
Well,
I think the problem with that is that if he would have waited for that moment, then the Starks wouldn't have been distracted by the Lannisters, and they just would have been up there in a second because they had the whole situation where the neck was cut off, and they were dealing with what was ahead of them in the Westerlands, or in the Riverlands. So I don't think that would have been any better because they just would have had the full brunt of their force.
Also, the thing is too, in what's his name? Bolton, Roose Bolton, points this out to Ramsay much later. He's like, you don't really want to do that. You don't yeah, sure, you can betray someone, but once you betray someone, that means your word is not good. It's not really a smart thing to go around betraying people. Otherwise, no one's going to surrender. Even Tywin thinks that. No one's going to surrender to you. No one's ever going to trust you. It's going to make things harder for you in the future. So that's why it wouldn't have been smart for Balon to do the old switcheroo on him.
Yeah, let's push forward. Unless anyone else had anything else to say.
I'm good. Unless Willi had something to say.
Nope.
All right.
So after Kerwin announces Sir Rodrik Cassel's wish to parley with Theon, Theon goes to the drawbridge. Theon meets them in the market square where Rodrik demands Theon return Winterfell to the Starks, command his men to lay down their weapons, and allow himself to be judged by Robb Stark. Theon gives Rodrik his own terms, telling the knight that the Northmen are to disperse and to swear fealty to Balon Greyjoy as their king, and Theon as the Prince of Winterfell. He then signals Lauren, who produces Rodrik's daughter Beth with a noose around her neck, atop the walls of Winterfell. When Rodrik accuses Theon of being craven, Theon tells him that he felt the noose for 10 years. He declines Rodrik's offer of taking his daughter's place, informing the knight that she will hang if the Northern Army is still present at sunset. Every following dawn and dusk, he says another hostage will follow. So I'll go first on this one. So yeah, I was thinking to myself while reading this, everyone talks about the Stannis and Renly parlay, and I'm a Stannis fan, so I love that parlay. However, I think this one is right up there, man. It's full of, I think it's full of tension. There's personal jabs in there. I also think that it shows some intelligence on Theon's part of how he handled the situation. You know, how he didn't fall into taking Rodrik and losing his leverage, because Rodrik, I think it was pretty clear that Rodrik is fine with dying for the cause, and his value is not as high in that particular moment because, one, the other people won't care, and Rodrik is the one that's helming this right now. So him having that personal stake with Beth as a hostage, I think was a smart move by Theon. Albeit I'm not saying it was morally good, obviously, but I'm saying that in that situation it was smart for Theon on how he handled how this situation. So we'll start with the LT. What do you think about this parlay?
I agree with you. It's an awesome parlay, but the funniest part of the whole chapter is in this to me, because I just picture Theon's face when he says, "We have 2,000 men," and it said you have 50, and he's like 17. Actually, you know, I could just imagine his face and Rodrik's face, 17. You know, but one thing I don't know if you guys remember, Theon notices archers. Like, he notices a bunch of archers. I was just wondering. We'll talk about the archers again when we skip ahead to what happens later. But yeah, I agree with you. It's right up there. It's a great parlay.
Kraken, what do you think about the parlay?
Bruh, I mean, like, it's a good one, but this is nowhere near, like, and thank God for Rodrik, like, he saved this whole fucking scene, but it's not up there with the Peach speech at all. Like, this is not the same thing. Like, I mean, good parlay, but not as good as Renly and Stannis. Like, not that good.
Well, could you put it as good as the one with Courtney Penrose and Stannis?
Courtney Penrose?
It's better
yeah,
than that
much
one.
better than that. Yeah,
the stakes are really much higher.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to disagree with Kraken. I think this parlay is on par with that.
No, like I said, Rodrik saved it.
I think both of them saved it. I mean, I think we need to go in more detail into this parlay.
Fucking, by all means, fucking hit me with it.
Yeah, so, like, it starts it where, you know, he pulls out Beth Cassel and he throws down that if Rodrik makes a move on him, he'll kill her. And then he Rodrik starts saying how despicable that it is to use a child to get someone to do things, and pretty much Theon does some brilliant stuff and throws it right back at him, saying, "Hey, I was in the same situation. You know, they used me so that Balon wouldn't move. You know, he took me hostage so that Balon wouldn't ever move." And Rodrik tries to say it's not the same, and then that no harm was ever done to him, and that they treated him well. But then, you know, Theon throws it back like, "Yeah, well, that's the only thing my father didn't do anything." Which he's not wrong here. Like, Theon's not wrong when he's saying this. Like, sure, I don't know why
he stands his ground.
Yeah, he stands his ground, and rightfully so. It just shows that Rodrik is like pure Stark bias here, pure Stark fanboying here. That when he's saying that, like, he's saying he's got all these great things. He got to be raised in a castle. He got to be taught a master. Well, you know what? If they would just left him in the at Pikes, he would have got the same things. He would have got the same things, and his life wouldn't have been threatened there.
Yeah, but it's shitty over there.
It is shitty over there, but I mean, that's not the point. He would have.
Well, in all fairness, I expect the Castellan of Winterfell to be Stark biased.
Oh yeah,
like, that's
for sure.
Yeah, no
but
shit.
I just love how Theon throws it right in his face, like he was in that situation. Like, you know, he calls it despicable when he sees someone else doing it, but when the Starks are doing it, it's not that bad. You know.
I mean, listen, I get what you're saying, Jerry, but at the same point, though, it's not like Ned, you know, was constantly writing letters to Pike like, "Hey, remember your son's here. Oh, and by the way, you know, I had a nice drawing or bas relief or something like that. Here's a nice picture illustrating what will happen to your son if you fuck up." You know, like it wasn't. Yes, it was implied by the fact that Theon was even there, but it wasn't a thing.
But Theon wouldn't do that either if Rodrik wasn't there. It's not like Balon was up at Winterfell and then threatening him the way Rodrik is threatening Theon now. So you can't really compare it that way because the situation occurred.
I have an interesting hypothetical to throw out there. Do you guys think if, let's say, Balon would have made a move at some point, would have Ned gone through and, like, let's say this is towards even the later part, executed Theon? And how do you think Ned's children being friends with Theon, how do you think they would have handled the situation?
Nobody would have liked it.
Ned would have hated it. He would have done it, but he would have done it under protest, similar to Lady, because Robert would have said it has to be done. Ned would have been like, "Well, my honor says this. I must do what my king says. His father is doing it." I mean, Ned would have been in a hard place, but he would have done it.
I agree, but I have a question for you guys too. Now, what if? Because remember when the second Greyjoy rebellion happened, or Robert could have took Theon, some other High Lord could have took Theon. Say they did, would he have got treated better than he was in Winterfell, or worse? What do you guys think?
Depends on who the High Lord is.
I say Robert took him. Robert probably would have ignored him and had somebody watch him, right?
Yeah, but that's because Robert's exactly ignored everyone.
I'm sorry, man. I didn't hear you well. Can you repeat the question, please?
I'll tell you now, Willi. Okay. Sorry, Kraken. He's saying, like, well, what if another High Lord took him in? How would he have been treated? And I say it would have been treated the way the High Lord treats anyone else. Like, Robert ignores everyone, so he would have ignored him.
I mean, I don't really think that Ned really... To me, I think Theon's relationships... Like, I don't think Ned really, treated Theon like a son. I think it was more like Robb, and, Robb treated Theon more as a brother. Like, I think that's where the connection is for Theon. I don't think it's with Ned. But I think, like, I'm sure he would have been treated fine under the Aarons. I'm sure he would have been treated fine probably in Dorne or something. I think he at least would have been treated okay.
Yeah, well, I was about to say Martell.
Regardless, he's a hostage, though. I mean, pretty much. It's like, hey, if your dad makes any fucking move, like, you're dead. I'll kill you. Like, I mean, for real. I don't think it mattered where he landed. He just happened to land in the place that holds the North.
Mm-hmm.
I think Bobby B wouldn't have had two thoughts if he had to dash his head in. I think.
Dude. Fucking Bobby B would have smashed that dude.
I mean, that's because it's Bobby B. I mean, but guys like Jon Arryn or Doran Martell or Ned Stark are obviously better guys than Bobby B, and they would have treated him better. And then
and just like Rodrik's making this point, he says it's not like you were chained to a dungeon. Theon could have ran any time. He had plenty of freedom. Yes, he had. He had plenty of freedom. He had freedom of the castle. It's not like he was.
He would have been hunted down so quick if he would have tried to run.
Yeah, remember, Winterfell isn't like in smack dab in the middle of the North. It's not like he's like, all right, I'm gonna take this little 20-mile journey, and try to catch me a boat.
When he has the parlay, he was mentioning that he played dice with this guy, that he did this with this guy. I guarantee you he had friends, and I guarantee you if he wanted to, he could have smuggled out. But he didn't run because he was treated okay. He wasn't treated bad.
Hold on, LT. It's one thing to be playing dice with the person. You're not going to get hung for playing dice with Theon. You might get hung for smuggling out Theon. Your family might get hung for smuggling out Theon. Don't think just because they're playing dice together that they're going to put their lives on the line.
And if he got hunted, if he got smuggled out and he was out, they would have ravens to all four corners of the North, and every single garrison and castle would be looking for him with hounds sniffing his ass out. I don't think that there would have been any chance of him getting away.
Zero.
Well, on a lighter note, I think if anybody wants to be held hostage or, fostered in any kind of realm.
Tyrell.
I think you want to be in Sunsphere. Like let's go ahead and
Oh yeah, Theon.
let's go ahead and say that. Yeah, like that's
How much more older is Theon than Rob? Is he like Rob's age, or is he a little
No,
younger?
he's like 3 or 4 years older.
Okay, so if Theon was in Dorne, oh yeah, he would have been making a move on Arianne, and I would have shit.
Well, I don't know. I mean, Theon got chicks, but he never got chicks of quality. Like Ariana might have been above his pay grade.
Yeah, but he's a prince. He's an heir. She probably would have been interested because he's
well, no, she's interested in dudes that like know how to make her, get her going. She doesn't. She's not so much caring about status.
Eris Oakheart was probably a virgin until he messed with her, so she seduces men.
Yeah, but Eris Oakheart was a good-looking man.
And he was also a fucking badass.
Well, let's get Don Willi's thoughts on the whole parlay situation. What'd you think?
It was the ultimate fuckboy move. You have there holding someone's daughter, saying, "Hey, look, get going, or I'm gonna hang her." And for the next however long, I'm gonna be hanging people in Winterfell or from Winterfell until you guys leave. I mean, look, I understand.
Hold on, Don Willi. How's that any more fuckboy than taking someone's son and saying you're gonna hang him if they move?
I mean, listen, man, because at the end of the day, Theon didn't have to do that with the man's daughter right in front of him. Like, he didn't have to.
But I'm just saying they did do that for Theon in front of Balon. So how's that different?
I'm sorry. That was when Balon was rebelling against the throne and actively committing open rebellion. It was like, okay, I got you. I'm taking your kid. It wasn't like he, marched him out, and was like, hey, this little guy right here, I'm going to behead him if you try anything else. No, it was like, okay, look, you're coming with me, and I'm pretty sure Theon didn't actually see the negotiations. Theon may have been aware, but I'm pretty sure that he didn't see the negotiations.
How about this? Okay, so if the Greyjoys are wrong doing that, are the Starks wrong for calling themselves King of the North right now? Because technically they're rebelling.
Jerry's got a point.
I mean, well, look. Here's the thing. Again, it's not like. It's not like
Rodrik Cassel here. Like, it's not the same.
No, it's not. It's not like they're actively marching people out. Look, Joffrey would be the dude.
They're marching people all over the place. They're at war.
Yeah, but all right. And forgive me, I was trying to actually respond to something in the chat real quick. Look, so the thing about it is that yes, Rob is currently in open rebellion, but he's in open rebellion for a reason that a lot of people could actually get behind, and for the most part, I'm pretty sure other people in the kingdoms would have been like, hey, look, Joffrey, yeah, marching Sansa out or whoever and saying you're gonna kill him if Rob doesn't give up his rebellion, maybe not the best way to go.
Hold on.
Not the best optic on this one.
He's rebelling against everyone. He's rebelling against Stannis. He's rebelling against like what do you want to say who he's rebelling against? Like what did Stannis ever do to him to say that he doesn't deserve his loyalty?
Well, hold on. First off, remember, Stannis doesn't have any particular proof. Rob is not rebelling against Stannis because it's like, okay, I just don't want Stannis to be my king. He's like, no, I'm rebelling against Joffrey in particular, and Stannis is out here saying that he's the king too. So it's a thing where he's not necessarily looking at it in terms of, okay, well, I'm openly officially opposing Stannis. His whole thing is the Iron Throne and the person who's currently occupying that seat, which is Joffrey.
Okay. How about this then? So if he's saying he's rebelling against, he's saying that the Lannisters are legit, that they got a legit claim to the throne, Stannis doesn't, then why is he taking exception to Ned being executed when Ned is saying that he's conspiring with Stannis? If he's recognizing them as legit, as he's saying right now.
I mean, well, because for one, I'm pretty sure he believes that Ned was doing whatever it was that he did under protest, or not under protest, but under duress.
But what does he think Ned's doing? If Ned is saying something's wrong about this regime, why is he saying, well, yeah, they're the right regime, so I'm going to rebel against them and not bend the knee to Stannis?
I'm with Jerry.
I mean, listen,
I don't understand his platform.
Jerry's just a Stark hater, and he always wants to point out things against the Starks. But I'll tell you this: I'll counter your.
I'm just.
Wait! Let me finish. I'll counter your offer. Everybody's rebellion because they all betrayed the Targaryens, and I know Robert took the throne by right of conquest, but they're still rebellion.
Well,
so everybody's rebellion.
So then that goes back to the point. So if that's not wrong, then why is what Balon doing so wrong? Why is that the ultimate sin, but not that? Like let's just keep things.
I'm not even saying what
Balon
is doing in terms of him claiming himself king in the Iron Islands is wrong. I'm saying what Theon is doing by marching this particular person in front of Rodrik Cassel is wrong, because he didn't have to march that girl out there in front of him and say that. That's all I'm saying.
So you're saying if he would have just said, I have your daughter and I'm going to hang her, but just kept her down below, that would have been, then he wouldn't be a fuckboy.
Well, it's
like, pretty much.
He's got to fucking prove himself, man. Like, he's like in his mind, like you and I don't agree with it, but like he's got to fucking prove himself. That's what he thinks.
I mean, ultimately, I think this was the only way he could get leverage in this situation, was literally this. So it might have been a fuckboy move, but I think it was an intelligent move. I don't know if you agree with that.
I got a question for you guys. Say Theon takes Maester Luwin's advice and just gives up, right? This is just hypothetics right here. And he faces, because it says face King Rob Justice. Do you guys think Rob would behead him?
Well, it was...
Fuck yeah, dude. Robert smashes ass. We just talked about it.
Not King. No, he didn't say King Rob, because King Rob's dead. Rob Stark.
Well, if he was going to yield, it was with we were going to go into the next situation. It was going to be for the black. In that case, we'll talk about that here in a second. But Don Willi, I mean, do you not see the intelligence of his move that he did?
Yeah, I'm not saying that it wasn't a smart move. But listen, I'm not saying that it wasn't a smart move, and no one ever said the fuckboys can't do smart things here and there.
Well, he did have to show that his daughter was still alive.
To that. Don't worry.
He did have to show Rodrik that his daughter was alive. So if he would have brought her up, showed us he was alive, showed him the noose, let her go back down, then showed him the noose, then that's okay. I'm just asking. I mean, it's small details, I guess.
Yeah, listen, small details can change big things sometimes.
Okay.
Hey, I want to make sure you guys can hear me, because apparently my webcam is down, so I just want to make sure you can hear me at least.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you, James.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, let's move on from the parlay. So Theon returns to the castle and retreats to Eddard Stark's bedroom. He knows that the Northmen will attack and that Winterfell will easily fall. Finding no solace in wine, Theon takes his boat to the inner ward, where he looses shafts at archery butts. He sees no way out. If he hangs Beth, the Northern army will attack at once, but if he does not hang her, he will prove his threats are empty. Luwin approaches him, suggesting Theon take the black. Theon considers the option, realizing it is a way to live with dignity and honor. So, one, do you guys think that, obviously we didn't get to see how far it went. There was a little line later that He kind of suggested that he would have taken the black. Do you guys truly believe that Theon would have taken the black? And I guess we can go into a little bit of hypothetics here. How do you think the story would have turned out if it actually would have worked out and he would have went and taken the black? We'll start with Kraken on this one.
I was gonna say, yeah. I think Theon is a pussy, not Reek. I think Theon is a pussy, but in my own personal opinion, I think it would be better to go out on your shield, you know. But the fear of death can strike fucking fear in your soul, you know, and you might take the coward's way out, or taking the black, you know. But I think if he wanted to legitimately be Ironborn, then going out on your shield would be the way to go. You know, I don't think I think if Theon took the black, that would be the last blow for him. Like that would be the straw that broke the camel's back. You know, because he's Ironborn, he was an army trade, you know, like because Ned took him in, you know, as a hostage pretty much, and like he's constantly trying to prove himself. So if he took the black, he would probably commit suicide. Like he would probably commit suicide, like because he would just lose his fucking mind. You know, like it. Go ahead.
I'm going to disagree, and I think that I think he actually bought into the black pretty well. Like I think he thought it was I think he bought into the idea of being a great.
Well, and Theon's also a coward.
But he's not that cowardly. He's confused. He's not really cowardly. He's confused.
Yeah.
I think he would have been a star in the Night's Watch.
He probably would have been. Yeah.
He's a great bowman. He's a great bowman. He knows how to ride. He knows the North pretty well. He he's a decent swordsman. He's not the greatest, but he'd be one of the betters in the Night's Watch.
Yeah, because he's highborn, or
he's highborn. He's
whatever the
fuck
you want to call that. Yeah.
He wouldn't be like Sam and John were. They try and be like living in the world. He'd be more like the more average, the more normal Night's Watchman, goes to visit Moldtown. Yeah, Moldtown doesn't have the best girls, but you know what? That fits right in with what Theon likes to do. He goes for those kind of girls.
He would have like followed in the shadow of like Waymar Royce. Pretty much like that stature. Like he had money, highborn, came from a good house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he would have been great at the. He fit right in. I think he would have fit.
Yeah, he'd have fit right in, but he didn't want to fucking do that shit.
I think it did kind of sound like at that point where he was weighing his options that he was kind of down with it. It seemed like it in the text anyway. But I would say like I don't think we could really say that Theon is cowardly because one, he came up with the cockamamie idea to go off script and try and take Winterfell, and then he also was willing to go out on a last stand. But to answer LT's question, when you were talking about Robb, I think that if Theon would have taken the black, Robb being a family that respected the Night's Watch, would have not gone and taken his justice in his own hand and beheaded Theon. I think Theon would have lived.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Yeah.
Because he's an honorable man. So. That's
true. Or like, if you accept the Night's Watch and like if you take the black and like you accept it, I don't think you can deny that person.
No,
like it's an honorable move.
Where did the Night's Watch had to sit?
You get everything taken away from you, pretty much.
We're gonna say LT.
I was gonna say, wouldn't they have to keep Jon and Theon separated because he'd definitely want to kill him or kick his ass?
I think
Jon's
the same way.
But it's Jon's responsibility to let that go because he took the vows that he was not gonna that family's gone, and the only family is the Night's Watch, so it'd be under Jon's responsibility.
That
It would be
is
his
some
responsibility.
backroom Sons of Anarchy fucking. I'm gonna beat your ass when nobody's fucking looking.
I mean,
Yeah, I
maybe
agree.
he would have done that, but I'm just saying. Well, I don't know, because Jon is a very kind of like, gotta follow the rules. Gotta.
Yeah, I mean,
if it
I'm
says
sure
here.
there would have been tension at first, but I
Mhm.
think Jon would have got over it.
Yeah, Jon would have been
After he
conflicted, but
beat
I
his
think he
ass.
would have been like, I wish I could beat this guy's ass, but the rules of the Night's Watch say this. so-
Fuck
Well,
that.
I'm sure he would I'm sure he would knock him out during a sparring session, but you could just say they were sparring.
Yeah.
You know what?
but,
Listen, I have a feeling that somehow Theon would have a mysterious slipping off the wall accident.
Yeah,
I think what would he
mysteriously
would do is
fell down the stairs. Yeah.
what would happen was Jon would start going like Golden State Warriors and be like Draymond Green and just get a kick in the nuts like while they're training, get a fucking stomp on the ankle, stuff like that, and then he'd be like,
Oh,
Yeah, I
and
mean-
I'm good.
John would dry snitch on him. If he tried sneaking over to Molestown, the rest of the guys would be cool, but John would tell on and say, "Hey, Theon's going over there," and he'd get in trouble.
Yeah,
I don't think Jon would
I
do
don't know
that.
if he'd get in trouble. I think they'd say, Jon, stop being a fucking snitch.
I don't think Jon would snitch. I mean, Jon, he knows everyone that goes to the Mole's Town. He doesn't snitch. I don't think Jon's a snitch. I just think there'd be some tension there at the beginning, and they would get over it. I mean, Jon is always portrayed as the honorable man, and it would have made a point. This would have been another way to get him over. It would get his honor over. Would have been to forgive
like
Theon.
there's only two scenarios. It's like just like James says, like Jon is the honorable man, so he would have handled him maybe in a sparring session, but then there's the other scenario that like maybe they were on a range or some shit and he literally just went ham and beat the dog shit out of him. You know, like either or.
Well, let's get Don Willi. What's your take on this situation?
Well, it's the funny thing, since you brought up the whole thing about ranging Kraken, I was just thinking, you know what? Yeah, Theon likes to talk a lot.
Oh yeah.
And I could see them being on a ranging and Theon just talking too damn much and having a mysterious accident in the woods and never coming back.
No.
Yeah.
See, here's the thing. Jon wouldn't do that because even though Jon's not the kind of guy that would be like, if no one knows it didn't happen. He'd be like, I know, and that's bad enough.
Well, you know what, though? It may not even be a thing that Jon does.
Well, then no one's going to do it because no one but Jon is really going to care enough.
Like, or if something was going down, would Jon save him or not?
I think so because it'd be, like I said, it'd be another way for George to show how heroic
compassion.
Jon is.
Yeah, like compassion from Jon. Okay.
Agreed.
Well, look, either way, I don't think that he would have actually taken the black. I don't think that there's any way he would have taken the black just for the fact that he wouldn't want to be looking Jon in the face on a regular basis, knowing that he betrayed the only family that he actually really had. I mean, whether he was a hostage or not, still treated him pretty well. And when other people
Theon's still a pussy.
Yeah, and when people were advising against Robb trusting Theon with bringing the terms to Balon, Robb still trusted him anyway. So I think that he wouldn't be able to live with that constantly, especially constantly seeing Jon there. And had things not gone down with however Benjen wound up missing Benjen as well, if Benjen had come back.
Well, we'll never know because moving on.
That's very true. Very true.
They are interrupted by Crom, who informs them that men from the Dreadfort have arrived, who are now fighting Rodrik's army. After the battle at Winterfell ends, the leader of the Dreadfort men presents Theon with the corpses of Rodrik Cassel, Clay Kerwin, and Leobald Tallheart, and Theon orders Winterfell's gates to be opened to their new friends. So let's talk about this real quick. Okay, so I read the books after the first season. I didn't know about everything that was going to happen with the Boltons, etc. Now, if anyone was, I know Jerry read the books before, but if anyone read the books before the Red
No,
Wedding,
I was like 3 seasons in before I read the books.
Okay. So like this was pretty confusing to me the first time when I read this, because I was like, wait, why is
It's really confusing.
Yeah, because
Yeah, no
at this
shit.
point this is before the heel turn by the Boltons
Mhm.
and before all that, before the Red Wedding. So I was like, what the hell's going on here? Why are first I was thinking maybe Ramsay went rogue or something, but did any of you feel confusion reading this? You might have even felt confusion if you even knew what happened, because you're kind of wondering like why this is happening now. Did anyone else feel confusion reading this?
I
what
don't. Go ahead, LT. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I was confused, but then, as it went on, I finally realized that Ramsay was rogue, because if okay, say the Red Wedding doesn't happen, eventually Ramsay's gonna get caught and killed, and Roose is gonna say, "Hey, I didn't order him to do none of that." So he was doing this on his own. I don't believe Roose had anything to do with this.
What do you guys think about that?
I
Yeah.
wasn't.
Go
I
ahead,
wasn't confused, like, because I felt that it was more of a we need bad guys in the story. Like we need people to counter our good people, like other than the others, pretty much.
Yeah, but I guess I felt politically confused.
I wasn't politically confused because I didn't even, like, I was confused, but I didn't think it was actually the Boltons. I thought it was someone dressed up as the Boltons.
Oh, what? So, Jerry, you're subscribed to fucking Roose being a goddamn fucking.
No, I'm talking about when I first read this.
People talk about.
No, I'm talking about when I first read this. Like, I was there. I'm like, these people like kind of similar to in Dune when they dress up as when the King's army dresses up like Harkonians, kind of like that. Something similar. I thought that might be the case here. I mean, as I read, I figured out no, it really wasn't Boltons. But
I never did the Doom thing.
Yeah. I'm just telling you what I felt back in when did I, like 2004 reading this.
What about you, Don Willi? Did you feel any confusion first time reading this?
Hell yeah, because at this point we've heard about Ramsay dying, right? Reek, had been given a bag of gold, and he was like, "Yeah, I can come back with a bunch of men and help hold down the fort." Yeah. And so it's like, all right, well, when you're hearing about Dreadfort men slaughtering the Stark men, it's like, wait, but the guys from the Dreadfort, they're Northmen. They're supposed to be on the same side. It's like, what the hell is happening here? So it's one of those things where, real quick, it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, this is kind of weird. And at this point, look, I had seen the first 3 seasons of the show, but I wasn't super invested in the show, and honestly speaking, I had kind of forgotten who the hell Roose Bolton was, and when he wound up killing Rob at the Red Wedding, I was like, wait, who the hell is that? Because I kind of just like binged my way through all of it. But but when this came up in the books, I was sitting up to like, wait, but I thought these guys are supposed to be on the same side. Okay, what the hell is going on here?
And not even the fact that they're just Northmen, it's the fact that their leader is one of the head advisors of Rob, one of his main dudes. So it was definitely like politically confusing at this time. So what do you guys think of LT's thing about saying that Ramsay is a pure rogue right here?
Well, everything to me, like I've always said for the last couple of years, all of us have been talking for years at this point. Like everything was very black and white, especially initially reading it. Ramsay was a rogue, at this point, and I can't help but say it. I feel some pink letter conversation coming on.
I mean, wasn't Bolton was constantly offering to take Winterfell back from.
And like the Roose thing was kind of weird. Sorry, Jerry, but the Roose thing was weird. Like especially with the Arya. Where were they at? Harrenhal. Yeah, with the Arya thing, and it was just super super weird and like super creepy, and then like all of a sudden like that family came back.
Well,
but Roose was constantly saying to Robb that my bastard will take back Winterfell.
I was just about to clear up. No, because not only was he was supposed to, they ended up giving him the order for Ramsay to take back Winterfell, but it wasn't with the implication that they were going to kill Rodrik Cassel and all the forces loyal to the north.
Yeah.
That was where the confusion came in, is the fact that we had this heel turn here, and so it was definitely in the works. So you can't say this is why I don't think Ramsay went rogue, because he was ordered to take back Winterfell, and I think that Roose kind of built it in. Obviously, at this point, and the fact that Ramsay says at the end,
that Tully bitch.
Well, no, at the end, Ramsay says, "Save everyone," or he says, "Give me the Frey boys and kill everyone else." So that tells me that Roose and the Freys were definitely in cahoots at this time in the Clash of Kings, and this was all orchestrated by Roose. Because I don't think they would have made this move otherwise. This was all orchestrated by Roose or Ramsay saying, "Save the Frey boys," tells me that 100%.
Agree 100%. And Randy was gone for a while.
So Roose was playing both sides, because if the Red Wedding never happens and they get caught, like I said, he would say that it was all him and not.
No, I definitely agree with that. He definitely could have said that Ramsay was acting on his own and fuck him. But I don't think that it's Ramsay 100% acting rogue. Maybe it could have been construed as like it was acting rogue, but I don't think he was on the inside acting rogue. If that makes sense.
Wait, are we talking about the Ramsay reveal yet?
No, I was just going there to make the point that I don't think Ramsay was going rogue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was definitely communicating with Roose.
Yeah, and we definitely jumped a couple of guns on that one.
Well, let's get there right now then. So the Dreadfort leader Redhelm informs Theon that Rodrik thought the Dreadfort men were allies to the other Northmen, which allowed the Dreadfort to win the battle despite being outnumbered 5-1. He takes off his helm, and Theon identifies him as Reek. The man tells Theon that Reek is dead. His name is Ramsay Snow, although he prefers Ramsay Bolton. Reek had been killed while fleeing the northern soldiers who had captured Ramsay, but as they had exchanged clothes, no one had realized the switch of identity. Ramsay tells Theon that he was promised a prize for bringing 200 men, but brought more than promised by bringing 600. Instead of Paula, he prefers Theon's bedwarmer Kyra. When Theon objects, Ramsay punches Theon to the face, and Theon falls to the ground in pain. The Dreadfort men attack the Ironborn, and Theon sees Red Rolf, Kennard, Ulf, and Luwin die, while the roof of the stables are set aflame. Ramsay orders his men to save me the Freys and burn the rest. Burn it all. The last thing Theon sees during the sack of Winterfell is his horse Smiler escaping the stables of fire. So obviously here we have the reveal of Ramsay. First time I read it, I was like, what the fuck? Because obviously, I mean, we didn't know at that, well, I didn't know at that point how prominent Ramsay would become and how much of a dickbag he was. So I was like, what the fuck? What the hell just happened here? Why is Reek punching Theon to the ground? And also, I would like to note, I took down a note here, second reread in a row where lobstered steel gauntlet comes into play, because Ramsay has a lobster steel gauntlet that he knocks out Ramsay with, and of course there was a lobster steel gauntlet in the Archmaester's box when we read it.
Did he do like a fucking men in tights fucking slap?
He just backhanded him, but I just found it. I just found it interesting because it calls out. It says in the text here. I don't know exactly where it was, but it says that essentially Ramsay, with the back of his lobster steel gauntlet, takes down Theon, and it was just funny that there was a lobster steel gauntlet in the reread, that chapter we read last week, or last time. But yeah. So once again, Theon says, "Save me the Freys." That tells me that the machinations of the Red Wedding is happening. But yeah, we'll start with Don Willi on this one. What do you think about this whole
Before we start
sequence?
with Don Willi, I want to ask you: do you think this lobster seal gauntlet it's got to be either that they're just common in Westeros, or that there's some kind of connection here? I don't know what
I
it
don't
is.
think. Hang on. I don't think there's any kind of connection because
They're common in Westeros.
they when George was talking about the way the Victarion looked, like he has a lobster plated steel or lobster steel, whatever the fuck you call it. And like I had to look at it, like I had to literally go on like Wikipedia and like Google and shit to see what the fuck he was talking about. Because initially I thought that they were talking about like he was covered in like fucking sea creatures and seaweed and shit, you know? I was like, I don't even know what lobster steel is. It's just a form of armor. It's kind of layered, you know, like you can Google it, like you can go and look it up, like to see what it is. Like, and the idea of it is like it's layered. So like if you hit me in the shoulder with your sword, that it would just kind of cascade down, you know, or like just kind of deflect off of my body.
Okay, so it's just something common.
Yeah, because I'm looking on a search of Ice and Fire. It's been mentioned 11 times, and it's like Sir Vardis Egan has lobster steel armor, Jorah Mormont has lobster steel armor, Victarion has lobster steel armor. So it's
yeah, correct. It's just a form of armor, pretty much.
Okay, so we can put that all then to rest that the lobster doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah, and like guys, I'm gonna be quite honest with you. I didn't know what the fuck it meant, and like when I started reading about Victarion, him and his lobstered steel armor or fucking shit, I thought he was like covered in like coral reefs and shit. You know, like I was like, what is this dude doing?
Yeah. So I guess it's essentially, I guess, like the way the armor is built is kind of like a lobster carapace. So
correct.
It's like segmented.
Yeah.
Two questions I have. Sorry.
All right, go ahead, LT.
No, finish. Kraken was finished.
No, I'm done.
All right. All right. Two questions I have for you guys. One, we know people escaped from this slaughter. We know probably there was 1,000 men or close to 2,000 men Rodrik had. So we know people escaped. They mentioned this later. Why the fuck did none of these idiots go and tell any of the other northern houses what the fucking Boltons did? Why not? And then
they probably did actually
because they live in fear, and also wait.
I'm not done. I want you guys to answer my other question. Explain to me how 600 men take out 2,000 men that quick. It's a lot more men. Even if you attack them unaware, there's still going to be men fighting. So explain to me how this happens.
Well, in the first part, we don't know timeline-wise how close this is together. Because, you know, this could have happened almost congruently with the Red Wedding. Like, this might have been happening a week before the Red Wedding. I don't know exactly. I'd have to look at the timeline. But it could be around the same time because how the books are construed. You know,
even if it's a month before the Red Wedding, 2 months, it takes a long time to travel. So by the time they do travel, the Red Wedding and tell someone the Red Wedding's probably already happening.
As for the second part, I don't know. It could be wonky. You know, George just, that's just the way he wrote it.
But it's not the only time too. That's how the phrase get everyone at the Red Wedding. They get them off guard.
I wonder how Don Willi.
Yeah, Don Willi, go ahead.
I mean, I was trying to remember what the original question was from James before the other five came up.
We'll just talk about how you felt about the Rams revolt and the whole ending sequence here, and how, just go ahead about that.
Yeah, listen, that was confusing as all hell. I was sitting up there like, okay, wait, all right, so this is Ramsay now. He gets off. He reveals himself as Ramsay. He punches the shit out of Theon. Theon is looking around and seeing all of his men being slaughtered, and he actually sees his horse running out of the stable on fire. I mean, I felt bad for the horse. But Theon, I was sitting up there like, oh wow, this is just crazy. Because you're getting it from his perspective, where he's dazed, he's confused, he's looking around, he's like, the hell is going on here? Wait, what? You killed my guys, but I gave you the gold, man, dude. I gave you the gold. What the hell is going on? All this over a concubine? Really, bro? Really? Why would you?
Bruh.
Come on, man. Why the hell are you doing this to me? So I was sitting up there like, wow, this is
Yeah, you just said, bruh.
yeah, this is just one of those things where I was just like, damn, man. he caught a bad one, and obviously, when you see the stuff that happens to him in the show, which we don't get any of that in the books, you see how it kind of progresses from there. Yeah, it was just kind of like the first time reading it was like, okay, well, is he dead?
Were you expecting what happened to Theon to happen to him at that point? Reading the book for the first time, when
I'll
were you
get to
expecting
that
him to
in a
get
minute.
betrayed? Or...
No, not at all. I mean, because again, he just saved Theon. Ramsay just saved Theon from the Northerners that were outside. So with that, happening, it was like, okay, wait, all right, you just saved him, you got off the horse, and now it's the whole thing of, yes, I am Ramsay Snow, but as the bed warmer that you said you would give me, not sufficient at all. I would like your bed warmer. Yes, your bed warmer. I think she would be a nice addition to my collection. And it was just kind of like, dude, no, you don't do that. Yeah, and I guess, he didn't realize that.
It's a trap.
And after that, the only thing Theon was probably thinking to himself was,
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
So, yeah, man. And I'm back
You
with the
cut out for a
soundboard.
minute, Willi. What'd you say?
No, hey,
You'll
let
hear it
me-
on the playback.
Let me go ahead and interject here. Dom Willi, when you do a British accent, you kind of sound like a Jamaican Sebastian from The Little Mermaid, who's like, you bet your eyes like this.
What?
And you pucker your lips like this. I'm like, Jesus Christ, fucking Don Willi, come on, man. Damn, dude.
Wow. Okay.
Getting off of getting away from that, I do want to ask, since then when we brought up the show, I want to ask that too. So, if you were perplexed by how 600 men were able to break in and set everything on fire, set the horse on fire, how did you feel in the show when Ramsay had 20 good men do this same thing to Stannis and set a horse on fire and do everything and wreck shop with just 20 good men?
He didn't take out men. They just blew up shit, and they didn't fight nobody in that scene. They just burned shit, and it wasn't at all nothing similar.
I mean, maybe I could see it like if they were all just kind of sitting around and didn't have their armor on. They were just like chilling for the night, waiting for things to go down, and they weren't wearing their armor on. You got 600 dudes wearing armor and on horseback with swords. I could see them getting cut down if they don't got their armor on.
They might have not had it though, because he was just chilling. They probably were taking a break. They don't just stand there out there in their armor, like for 12 hours a day, just like we're here. They only do that when they're ready to,
So that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking they didn't have
or-
their. Yeah, I'm thinking they weren't ready for battle and they didn't have their armor on.
Yeah, they were caught off guard, so they were probably able. The Boltons were probably able to take out 3 guys like that. And then by the time one of them was even ready to fight, there were probably like 4 of them dead.
But what'd you think about the whole situation, Jerry? The Ramsay reveal.
You know what? To be honest, I was kind of confused on what the hell was going on. I barely remembered Ramsay the first time I read it. And I'm talking from the first, like as I reread it, I'm like, oh, this is awesome. But the first time I read it, I was like, huh? What? And then I was really what I really focused more on was like, holy shit, Theon's dead. And I think is this the first one where we get a POV fake out where, we get one later with Arya. We get one. Who else? We get one with Tyrion later, where Martin kind of hints at, and that was the last stop they had, or that was.
They made it fucking look so good. The fake out made it look so good because we don't hear nothing about Theon until Roose gives Caitlyn the skin. So, or do we hear that he's being filleted before that, right?
I don't know. No, you don't hear that he's being flayed. You just hear that he's given the skin. What I figured was Theon was dead, and they were just giving him dead skin.
Yeah, I thought he was dead too. But I don't get though is that's the thing. Theon saved Ramsay from being in a fucking cell. You think I don't get, is it just because he's a psychopath that he had to torture Theon, you think? Or do you think it was personal? Do you think he had some kind of, he hated Theon or something? What do you guys think?
No, it was psychopath. It was psychopath.
Yeah, he's a psychopath, yeah.
Yeah, he had no cause for like a personal vendetta.
First, it started out with getting information from Theon. That was the first thing. And then he just kept doing it because he's a psycho.
Hey, I'll be right back, squad.
All right.
Be right back.
And his name is
Ramsay finds out about like Theon really didn't kill Bran and then he finds out things from Theon, and he does that. He learns stuff through torture.
I thought that. So wasn't Ramsay was there with Theon that told him to kill the Miller's boys.
Oh, yeah,
right?
That's right. He's the one who he offered to do it. Never mind.
Yeah, but no, you're right. He probably got information from other information, but I don't know. You just think that he'd be, grateful that he was taken out of a cell. And Theon wasn't really that much of a douche to him,
Yeah, I mean, it's clearly he's a psychopath.
I know I sound dumb sometimes when I talk about my first read through, but Martin is very good at like throwing things in, but putting something in so much bigger that's happening that you're completely kind of distracted about. Like I was completely distracted by Theon dying and or thinking Theon was dead, that I didn't even think about, save me the phrase or I'm Ramsay Bolton. So that all stuff came to me on subsequent rereads.
What'd you think of the Ramsay reveal, LT?
So I just thought it was pretty like any kind of twist, a good twist. I didn't expect that. I really thought that, Reek, I thought it was Reek. I never for 1 minute thought it was Ramsay, and I thought that he was going to bring him back men. It just, I just knew Theon's fucked, and I'm right there with Jerry. I thought he was dead.
Well, do you agree with the fact that him at the end here saying "save me the phrase" and kill everybody else? That's proof that they had machinations of the Red Wedding going on.
I thought Ramsay was rogue, but when you explain it to me, I kind of agree with you that possibly he was in cahoots or Roose in the phrase.
And I mean, me personally, like for some reason, I don't know, like the end of this chapter is one that I always remember personally. Like I couldn't tell you like how, like if you said a chapter, I couldn't tell you how most of them end. But I don't know, for some reason, just seeing Theon get fucked and Smiler burning in the stables, just I don't know, it stuck with me. I don't know about you guys.
James, I know you're not a big fan of the 20 Good Men thing, but when they did have that horse running on fire, did it bring you back to that chapter? This chapter?
No, not really, because I only watched that episode once in my life, so I didn't even remember about the horse burning. Yeah, I try to block that on my memory. But wait, what do you guys think about the ending, specifically the ending scene? Don, Willi, what do you think about that?
Yeah, like I said, that was crazy. You know, he just got betrayed by the person that saved his ass. Yeah, the whole thing with the horse kind of burning as it's running away. I'm just like, damn, man. Like I said, I felt bad for that damn horse.
And talk about some of these ramifications. The funny thing, if you just read the series before the show, you don't even know Theon, because Theon doesn't have a chapter again until Dance of Dragons, and you don't really know in between a Clash of Kings and a Dance of Dragons that Theon is alive.
Well, Theon was a sample chapter, so.
Well, I mean, if you didn't know that.
Okay, I was about to say, like, we did find out like in 2005 or 2006, something like that. Maybe even before. I think he's a sample chapter in Feast.
Well, you did, but none of us even knew what Game of Thrones was.
We don't go back that far, you fucking jackass. Yeah, well, back in 2004, I'm like, God damn it, Jerry, you fucking dickhead.
Well, I mean, it could have been. How could it be that far? Because he didn't have a chapter in Feast.
I'm saying sample chapters started coming out pretty quick.
The dance sample chapters was coming all the way out in like 2005.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure, because
he was in the parking lot waiting on it.
This came out in 2005, and this has a sample chapter.
He had a sample chapter for Dance 5 years before he came out with that book.
Well, look, he says in this fucking book here that Dance is coming out later this year.
Yeah, that came into fruition.
Yeah, well, I mean, hey, dude, like we could look at the Forsaken and see like when was that released, and we could just keep time to seeing, when Winds of Winter comes out, like fuck it.
Yeah, I guess. But yeah, that's actually the end of the chapter. I don't know. Do you guys want to add anything else? You want to talk about anything else?
Yeah. I got something I want to ask you guys about, and I talked.
Yeah, I got some shit to say too, LT.
And I asked, and I asked Jerry about this before before we were in it. And I think.
Oh, why is everything about Jerry?
No. I asked JB about this, and Jerry jumped in and said, "Save it for the video, LT." No, so I have a question. Do you guys remember if it's mentioned when Theon is going to the parlay that he had a crown on? Is that the only time he ever wore the crown? Was it ever mentioned before? And I wonder, did he just have somebody from Winterfell that made it for him? You know what I mean?
I thought he had it made earlier in the chapters, and he was like walking around with it. Sometimes he'd walk around in Ned's room with it, like with no pants and just got this crown.
Yeah, I can't remember.
A feathered hat.
Well, I'm looking it up right now because it does have specifically. If you look up crowns or on the wiki, it does have like all the people have crowns, and apparently the crown of Theon Greyjoy, a finger slim iron band with chunks of black diamond and gold nuggets. It was described as misshapen and ugly. It says that. This crown was forged in Winterfell at the command of Theon Greyjoy after Winterfell was taken by the Ironborn under Theon Greyjoy. Theon observes that the new smith replacing the slain Mikken is capable of little more than nails and horseshoes. So essentially, the smith that replaced Mikken made the crown and it looked like shit. So that should answer your question.
Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you.
I don't even remember that. Yeah, that's a good question. Way to go, LT.
Did you have something you wanted to add, Kraken?
Yeah. I'm just happy to see all you guys and just hang out, shoot the shit, talk about our fucking book series. It's fucking great. I love it. And
number 30 is a milestone, man.
Yeah, JD the dragon can fucking kiss my ass whenever he fucking hears this. Yeah. And shout out to all the other members of the Hives Watch. Definitely love you guys. I love all of you.
This is kind of a shorter chapter. I mean, not necessarily a lot to break down, but I think it's a really good chapter. Like I said, I think it's more not necessarily a chapter for like all the intricate theories you can weave, but I think it's a good chapter in terms of tension and action.
It's what Jerry said earlier. Like, why we love George is like thinking about, how this character actually feels, and the turmoil, and them actually, you get the idea of they're actual people, like going through emotions and like thinking about this but doing something else and being conflicted about not doing something that they feel like they need to do, or them doing something that they don't want to do. It's great storytelling. It really is.
Well, I mean, it's really the only thing worth writing about. And that's
the matters of the heart,
the human heart and its conflict with itself.
Yeah. And like
that's this in a nutshell.
Really, like, in anybody that watches this, and like listens to us that are friends with us, like I think we're all kind of on the same page. That's why we're all here. It's a great story, it's wonderful. I really love it.
How did you feel about the chapter overall, Don Willi?
Very interesting chapter, and full of surprises that I definitely was not expecting at all. Especially that that last part. Oh man, him smacking Theon in the face, and all the men getting slaughtered around him. I actually, that's something I wish they would have had in the show. I
Is
think
this
that
the
would
first
have
fake
been.
out? Is this the first death fake out? I can't remember. Is there anyone that comes before this?
No, I think this is not the first fake death. Wasn't there kind of a death fake out with Davos at the battle at Blackwater?
Yes, I think so. I think
Well, he drowned. Yeah.
And that happened before this chapter. So I think you've had like 3 death fake outs with Davos over the years.
But one of them was off screen. Like it wasn't like I'm talking about a POV death, like where you actually see the POV. One of them is just like Cersei's been told that what's his name has his on a pike, Manderly has his head on a pike.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, Davos's last chapter in Blackwater ended in a death fake out, I think, if I can remember correctly. But I'm not 100% on that. But,
yeah, he sunk down, didn't he?
Count the death fake outs.
Yeah.
Theon here, we got Davos there.
Also, I mean, Tyrion's was almost a death. Wasn't Tyrion's
it
chapter
was a death fake out? When you got what's his name? John Con got the grayscale.
Well, that's
after later.
I was talking about
that's
when
later,
got,
Jerry.
Slashed in the face by Mandon Moore.
Was that a death fake out? I can't remember if the chapter ended like that.
We'd have to look back and look.
So Arya was a death fake out. Who else was a death fake out?
Well,
we'd have to have a video on
we're
death
not
fake
perfect.
outs.
Only Jerry is.
Quentin was a death fake out.
No, that is a death. Anyway, that's
I
a video.
see what you did there.
That's another video. That's another video for another time. So yeah, anyone have anything else to say about this great chapter?
It was a good one. I'm just happy to talk to you guys, and happy for everybody coming around and hanging out with us and listening to us. It's great. I love it.
So yeah, we'll maybe we'll try and have a theme next month where our vote will be all death fake out chapters.
Oh shit!
You can each pick out a death
you know
fake
what,
out
guys?
chapter.
I really want to do something in Game of Thrones. I either want to do John where the epic Donald Noy speech comes into him and straighten him up,
Yeah.
or the Sansa one where she's at the tourney and she starts getting her little.
Nobody wants to hear anybody talk about goddamn Sansa. No.
Well, no, that's the one where the Hound goes crazy and tells
Well,
about backstory.
How about we do this then? How about we nominate 4 Game of Thrones chapters?
Okay.
And see what happens.
Is this on Twitter?
Yeah, we'll put it on Twitter. We'll put it.
All right, put it on Twitter, everybody. Let's go.
So yeah, if anyone else had nothing else to say, do you want to do some outros, or we just want to say screw it and end it?
I want to hear what LT has to say. He's been sitting there marinating.
LT outro.
Yeah. If you want to check out, I have a video on this particular chapter. It's a double header. It's also with a chapter where Arya escapes Harrenhal. So go look that up if you're dying to hear more discussion about this chapter. And yeah, just glad to be here with my Hype Watch brothers, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
Jerry, outro.
Game of Thrones next time. We need to talk about it. Looking forward to it. That will be the July reread. And we might have something a brewing soon that we can get it. We can get it. I won't say what, because I have no idea how long it's going to take. If we're actually going to get through with it, but we might have something a brewing.
Mr. Don Willi.
Yeah, glad to be here as always. Finally got the damn intro to work correctly. Finally back on camera because that was a pain in the ass with this new computer. And of course, we got the soundboard working. And
this is Sparta.
Yeah. So I can't wait to do this again next month. And thanks to everybody who came out to check us out today. Thanks to everybody who will be watching later. And sooner or later, I actually get to, get back to doing my damn videos myself.
And Don the Kraken Wit.
Hey guys, once again, I'm so happy to come and hang out with my friends, the Hypes Watch. I love it. And everybody that came out to support us, thank you. And everybody that supports us individually, thank you. It's such a good time. We're all here for the same thing. So everybody have a good one. I appreciate it. Thank you. Hypes Watch for life. Let's go. I love it.
And yeah, you guys should follow us at HypesWatch on Twitter, and you can help us choose our chapters that we do our rereads on. This month that wasn't the case because my chapter kept losing, so we just decided to do it. But and what were you gonna say, Jerry?
I just got one thing I want to say, and then we'll go out and then we'll end the video too. Just let me know when you're ready.
What's that? What do you want to say?
If Theon would have just said these words, he would have lived through Cassel, he would have lived through Ramsay Bolton. All he had to say was, Kraken Kai never died. We're out.
Hey,
We're out.
My man, dude.
And then if he would have listened to Terry Silver, no, I'm just playing.
Kraken Kai never dies.
My man.
Kraken Kai never dies.
In that.
I am JBTV. I'm putting it to Don Willi to take us out now because he's the one that has to press the off button. We're out.
Oh my god. Oh my fucking god. Holy shit.
Yeah, wait, hold on.